Well, that was a revelation. We met our nice sister. She died for what she believed in, which is apparently there ain't no gods. Or not really, though. It's not that there's no gods, it's more that maybe they're not gods, or they're within. It's actually really hard to determine what exactly this means. Oh. Big ouch. Because, yeah, the outcome seems to be that the gods are real. It's just that they're not gods. Like, their backstory is a lie, essentially. They were created. But they still have the power. Like,
so, it's true. The gods are a sham that people have followed for thousands of years.
I mean, whatever they are seemingly immortal and powerful and can control things. I don't know. I guess the issue is that somebody like Thaos could technically become a god on some level. I don't know. Does gods being definable make them less godlike? Because, like, in Norse mythology, the gods are just a bunch of people that have motivations and flaws and make decisions and don't really even, in their cases, they barely even, some of them kind of represent ideas, but a lot of them are just kind of assholes that do stuff because they feel like it. And maybe they have dominion over this or that element of reality or something, but the extent to which their dominion even comes up, or like the idea that they're even like any kind of middle manager or whatever of that thing, it's kind of hard to define. I don't know. And on one level, it's like, oh my god, an earth-shattering revelation, but on the other level, I'm like, does this revelation even change anything, like, practically about how said gods work, and so on? It's almost like, it almost feels like a semantic difference. Two people have reactions to this, though.
Well, doesn't that just beat all? Here I was, wondering all this time whether all these terrible things were people's fault or the gods. Turns out they might be the same thing. Wonder how things would have gone different 15 years ago if the Raid Sarens had been told their god was made in some forge or kiln someplace. Would we still have gone to war?
People were starving. They'd have rebelled sooner or later.
I could see the rebellion still happening, but I don't know that they would have invaded.
He looks down at the ground, drumming his fingers against his side, restlessly. When he speaks again, it seems half to himself.
I don't know. When Woden left for war, we, had a fight. As brothers will.
What about?
About him going off to war. He was set on it. But my parents warned him. They said you get a new country with every trip across the border, but your god, you only get the one. Me? I didn't know who was right. All I knew was I didn't want him to go. It's the same for families as it is for gods. You only get the one.
You only get the one god. What, you're just born into which god you get to worship? But they all represent ideas, not locations, so that seems like a really iffy approach. It seems like you'd pledge yourself to a god based on an ideology of the particular god and not just not based on just the fact that you happen to grow up in the place that they have dominion over or something, because nothing about how they work seems to be location based. That said, I also had a chance to pray to gods, and while there was like 8 gods there, I only had like 4 choices to make. The gods are grouped in as if you get more than one god anyway, if you try to talk to any of them. I don't know.
I said every vicious thing I could think of, trying to change his mind. He brushed it off. Just got me madder, of course, him being so calm. He said I should come with him, but he'd understand if I didn't want to, I told him he'd better be able to face his god one day and answer for what he'd done. He said he'd keep that in mind. And then, he was gone.
I'm reminded of the beginning of the playthrough, where I was actually confused at the fact that I was mixing up the names, because his brother's name is Woden, and the god's name is Wodika. I'm like, they could have named him something else.
By the time I'd cooled off, months had passed. One morning it dawns on me that my brother always knew better than me. If he was so sure of what he was doing, then I should be there with him. I packed my things and was on the road that same morning. Of course, what I didn't know then was he'd already changed his mind. By that time, he was dead on that field.
Right, that was also why I was confused. Woden and Wodika and Wadwin are 3 different things. Do you think he went to Wadwin because of what you said to him?
Crossed my mind. You live in a place like Gilded Vale. You don't have a whole lot else to do other than think about things you don't want to think about. I hope that wasn't it. I hope he went there because it's what he thought was right. But it seems I'm not meant to know.
So if you'd left with him, you'd have known why he changed his mind.
If I'd have left with him, we'd both be dead, so I don't know why I bother thinking about it. I found my own way in the end, and it wasn't my brother's, and it wasn't my god's. Don't know if it was right. But I couldn't abide what Wadwin was doing to his own, god or not. I don't regret it. Whether Wadwin was Aothis, well, it hardly seems to matter after what we just heard. And all these questions I've been trying to figure out. I think I just miss my brother.
He smiles faintly. And when he breathes, the air seems to flow more freely through his lungs.
Still one more mess we gotta straighten out. Come on then. I still owe you one.
We've been lied to. Our whole lives, and many lives before that. And it's led us to put our faith in a pantheon of gods that never deserved it in the first place.
Thaos is wrong. Most people are fundamentally decent. Knowing the truth can only make them better.
You're right. People will be better off finding direction on their own than following this farce. Besides, the gods haven't exactly done much to prevent us from slaughtering each other. If anything, they've only given us more pretenses for doing so.
Seems like that's all they've been doing of late.
I've also been thinking. There won't be much left of Thaos by the time you're done with him, if I know how you operate. That will leave the leaden key headless. Perhaps it's best it stays that way.
No, someone should fill that role.
This is unexpected coming from you. Why keep it going?
Someone's got to keep everyone from murdering each other.
Then let's face Thaos. When this is all over, I'll remember what we've been through. I'll see the leaden key transformed into a stronger, better guide for Kith. And I won't make the mistakes Thaos did.
Hopefully that's not a mistake. I'm not entirely clear on whether or not he'll fundamentally reshape what they stand for, which is kind of potentially an important part, but yeah. Letting them completely aimlessly try to pursue their past goals can only lead to them continuing to do shitty things, maybe even for dumber reasons. the organization is going to need a leader, if for no other reason than to disarm the whole thing. Because boy, do they send a lot of assassins. It's a real problem, man. Those are great conversations to have. It's a little rough having no idea which characters to bring that might have those kinds of interactions. The gods kind of play a role for everyone. Sun in shadow.
Even my Stelgar eyes can't see in this darkness.
Well, thankfully, I have an isometric camera angle, so I got you, fam. These are a lot of Ash people from before.
Full of surprises, aren't you?
Look at that. A city to put all others to shame. And long lost.
Incredible! I knew the builders could work wonders, but this is amazing!
Many spirits stir here, edged with anger, violence.
Can you do that again? I had something in my eye. I missed most of it.
Well. Oh yeah, they're giving me 100 little glimpses at the sheer scale of the place, but I probably can't visit any of it. They lit those all up so to give you an idea of how big this place might be. Ending within ruin to end them all. And in the darkness by no. Well, that was an experience. Thanks, Hylia. Of all the false gods, you seem kind of chill. I don't know, how many Hylian wars have there been? It's hard to keep track. This is a dense-ass world with dense-ass backstory in mythology. Spent the last 100 hours trying to understand it, and feel like I still don't get a lot of it. Also, these are fucking creepy. What is that? They look so weird. They look like Bigfoot, but then on their head, on top of their body is just a head that doesn't match the rest of their body, and that head is like, it looks like a Unity asset, like the generic bald male dude that's in every indie game because they couldn't bother making hair or a unique character model, is like floating in the middle of a sea of fur, all strange, like eerie. Shadow Drake. Oh shit, look at that. Oh shit, look at that. Too much stuff. Quick, kill everything before the Shadow Drake gets here, who is stunned? Oh, psychic backlash. Interesting. Interesting, it went straight for she who you don't want to hit with that kind of attack usually. Because bad happens. Nope. That's neat, the psychic backlash stunned them long enough that went down. Defend the party. With some very strong defenses. Well, that was neat. So we're kind of cleansing the area. Hexagon tiles coming out of the floor. Whenever you get, I'm just so used to this. You get to these crazy nether spaces where the fundamentals of all of reality seem to be unraveling around you, and inevitably you see a bunch of hexagons in a grid. Getting those divinity flashbacks. We're not quite doing basalt columns, but we're getting close. I've also seen a screenshot of the one of the screenshots on the Steam page for the Tides of Numenera, the sequel to Planescape Torment, has a screen completely covered in hexagonal columns. I'm like, of course, of course. The shadows in the cavern suddenly lengthen and swallow you. When your eyes adjust to the darkness, you find yourself in the midst of what must be another vision. You are surrounded by mists. The ground feels springy under your feet. You imagine that, as soon as you take a step, the soil behind you will erase all trace of your passage. As if on cue, the mists before you clear, just enough for you to take a couple steps forward. You do, and the fog closes behind you. You continue for several minutes in this manner, one step at a time, never seeing more than the ground right in front of you. Eventually, rays of light cut through the haze, and you find yourself facing a canyon wall. Eder's head twists suddenly, as though something had flown in front of his face. What's that? Something whizzes past you. Just as you turn, you catch another whir of movement. Out of the mist flits a shape, small and round. You think you see another, and another. They tickle the corners of your vision. You turn back to the canyon wall. The sun shifts along its path, and what looked like a smooth rock face is the hollow of a cave. A figure steps out, its features shifting and changing before your eyes.
Can it be? I never thought I'd see with my very own eyes. Even when you look Weil in the face, you can't know for certain.
He bows his head to the figure. The figure transforms from male to female, from Orland to Omawa, its bones lengthening and its fur receding into its flesh. The only detail that remains constant in is the smooth, eyeless face. The whizzing, rushing shapes from the mist converge on the figure, and as they form a spinning cloud, you realize that they are eyes.
You understand the value of a mystery watcher, a buried scroll, a hidden truth. These are my ways. You unravel a thread, Watcher, one you have lost and discovered over generations, and following it to its end has only brought you back to the beginning.
The eyes track you even as they circle the god. Have I been here before? Whale giggles, a strangely modulated sound that rises and falls as the god shifts from one form to the next. Your search for answers to your past has led you to another mystery, and one grander still. My goal now is to seize the souls Thaos has trapped. Yes, but what would you do with them?
A nebula of souls, blind and brimming with potential. The answer to Woodika's question and the beginning of yours. What would you do with them?
Thunder clouds form overhead, casting shadows of movement across the canyon. According to Hylia, it's possible to restore them to Hollowborn.
A song the world knows and tires of. The droning chorus repeated again and again. Better the improvised melody, the unfolding chant. The listeners sit rapt, and just when they think they have the tune, it changes again. Even the gods require fresh mysteries.
Whale folds its hands, grinning at you with an Orland's needle-sharp teeth. The clouds break, and the torrent of rain washes Whale's features clean. His blank face molds itself again, taking on the shape of something you've never seen before. Do not consign the souls to the fate of some god's choosing. You have found them. Now scatter them across existence. Their destination known to neither god nor mortal. Let them be lost again. New answers to new riddles. Behind him, the sudden downpour has carved new caves into the canyon. Do not co-sign them to the soul. Do not co-sign the souls to the fate of some god's choosing. Instead, co-sign them to the fate of my god's choosing. I am the god. Listen to me instead. Did he think about that sentence before he said it? Don't do what that god said. Don't do it, but say it said in the phrasing of like, don't do what a god told you to do. Do what you, like, do what I want you to do. You know, me, a god. Oh shit. Here it is. You say I shouldn't let a god decide their fate, but it seems you're asking me to do just that.
In a way. But something must be done, and hurling them from the machinery of other schemes is the truest course of action.
But it's your scheme. You didn't actually explain how it's anything other than exactly what I just said. But what end would that serve?
No end, Watcher. That is the purpose.
That just makes it seem like you do have an end that you won't tell me. But what would happen to the souls?
None know. They could end up anywhere in the realms of gods or mortals, whole or divided. Discovering them again and charting their course through the ether will be a new mystery.
Oh, you're exhausting. Farewell, whale.
That is a word for endings, and this is but a crossroads. Even I do not know what you would choose.
Shadows from the new caves melt and spread across the landscape, covering you in darkness. When the light returns, the vision is gone. And there they are. They refused to talk to me when I went to talk to the other gods earlier, so they were always going to show up here. A lone segment of the bridge rises over the ruins of an ancient city. It looks stable enough, but the wide gap leaves a little room for error. Yeah, I've already gone around it at this point. That was another shortcut chance. Well, I don't think they like it when I do that. Yeah, they really are just a bunch of random people that are covered in like a weird fur of shadow, essentially. Very strange visual. It's really hard to make out what it's supposed to look like exactly. But the Shadow Drake's definitely not here to help. Aha, you got proned. It's just always kind of funny when something that big collapses like that. It's prone, and every time it gets hit, its animation resets. Those wings were very busy. Where does that go? Versus there? There seem to be so many paths around here.
That's not the...
Stand still.
Damn. Always with the lightning bow. I'm not sure if the ending is the ending point or next area is going to be the bottom of that staircase or the top of that doorway. That's going down somewhere. This might be the severed connection to the rest of the city. Yep, I straight up can't walk any further down. And you can see where the staircase ends. Nope, it's this door. I think I'm about to tell Whale to get fucked. I was gonna say, don't crash on me. Don't do this to me again. I wonder how close we are to Thaos now. Oh, that's probably it. The entire map's pre-filled in as I walk in. Yep. A massive range of sacrificed people. Oops, accidentally started running. All these sacrificed people. So many of them. And a huge version of what we've seen in the past. I bet he's standing like right there. Oh.
Are you ready to take the oath? To spread the word of the gods to the lost and heathen?
Didn't realize what path they were going to take.
I'm trusting you to remain loyal to the gods in this. Have greater powers than me to answer to, but you will answer to me as well.
If not, you will have greater powers than me to answer to.
Were there any other choice?
This is a missionary, same as I was. Taught the wrong things as I was. Zionis. They have held off many would-be invaders.
Are ready to give a confession?
I'm ready to hear one from you.
And then her death. And her eternal purgatory. As the most stubborn woman in all of Aora. Memories of the Ancients, completed. They just gave me 20,000 experience. Jesus Christ. Doesn't really matter, but... yeah, 20,000 is a large number. Compared to any other number we've seen before. That's it. All I have is tasks. Every side quest I have ever has been completed. Both expansions and now the entire main story. I'll probably get a new quest in a second here, but then it ends shortly thereafter, I imagine. You've come to a circular room, grand and domed, its walls lined with Aedra and trimmed with copper. At the far end, a great pillar of Aedra pierces the floor from below like a ragged spike. Its shimmering texture gives the illusion of boundless depth. Your thoughts are yours and not yours, and they are all questions. At the base of the pillar stands Thaos, a look of concern on his face as he notes your approach. You have something you want to ask him. One question above all others, spinning madly in your mind, but you don't dare to ask it yet. You need some admission from him first, some hint of the veracity of your suspicions.
You are far from your post, Inquisitor. What brings you here?
Your mind races, weighing different angles of approach, your emotions barely in check. All these statues, who are they of?
They are monuments to Woodica's greatest servants among my people. I hope to join them myself one day, but my work is not yet complete.
What is this place?
We are in a sanctum holy to Woodica, There are others like it in service to the other gods. I come here often to pray for her counsel, and in this space I may be assured that she hears me.
That machine behind you, what does it do?
It has many uses, but its purpose is to bring structure to the chaos that surrounds it.
Was Iovara telling the truth?
That woman sought only to destroy the foundations of peace and civility that my people sacrificed everything to build.
Was the entire Inquisition based on a lie?
The Inquisition was based on the need to cut the flesh from a rotting wound.
You are shaking now, having lost all patience for tact. No more evasions. You have to know. Everything you believed, everything you have done for the gods. Did you lie to me when you said the gods could end suffering? Thaos says nothing. Are there no gods?
What is a god? A higher power? A rewarder of good deeds and punisher of the wicked? Something men can turn to in their darkest moments when their days seem only like bridges from one tragedy to the next. Our gods are all these things.
With Thaos' every word, you find yourself losing control of a boiling cauldron of rage and doubt and fear and hopelessness until you can take it no more. Are there no gods?
We are in a sacred place within earshot of the gods themselves. This is not the time. You've been through much these past few months. You will return home and you will rest. When you feel you have recovered, you may rejoin us at the trials. The Inquisition is far from over, and I will have need of you. There are many who continue to spread the lies of the apostate. The Inquisition will not end until we have pronounced judgment on all of them.
His eyes linger on you, and there is no mistaking the threat behind it. And your rage shrinks at the image of an iron wheel in your mind, monolithic and caked with the dried blood of thousands. You do not ask your questions again.
How did you find it?
I didn't. It was Lady Webb.
Another in a string of acts of petty defiance. For all her knowledge, she always preferred spite over reason.
She loved you.
Then she should have obeyed. I ask one thing of all my followers. She was incapable. A waste of rare talent and intellect.
Blind obedience is a lot to ask of someone with a mind of their own.
What of your cohorts, then? They have followed you to their deaths. Is it loyalty that brings them here? Or is it, as my agents suggest, that they have no direction of their own? You worshipped Aethys, did you not?
Your spies are good. What gave me away? The cape?
Yet when your god needed you the most, you chose your country.
Adair frowns, irritated.
We were being invaded, not by anyone who was acting like a god.
Then I should think your hometown gave you a hero's welcome when you returned.
They made cake. Hard to blame people for losing faith when it's the gods who are misbehaving.
The gods argue over how best to prevent Kith society from destroying itself. These disruptions would not be necessary were mortal instinct not so diseased. You have devoted yourself to studying the work of my people. Why?
I thought your people had much to teach us. That we too could create great machines, improve our ships, make an empire as vast and impressive as yours ever was. built upon your secrets.
And did you ever consider that these were things you were never meant to understand? That their comprehension is beyond you?
I know better. The Ingwithans weren't an infallible race. You were never gods. All your petty experiments, your heinous crimes, your glorious achievements. You were just people. And your time came and went. Engwith is a lesson now for those who remain.
You are living in the time of my people, Amawa. You owe them more than you will ever comprehend, and so it shall ever be. Greater civilizations than yours have attempted to reclaim what we buried. The greater their successes, the worse their fates in the end. I have seen to it. What of you, Orlan? My agents tell me you are far from home, both in distance and in years. Have your friends proven a worthy distraction from the pain of ostracism?
Ostracism? Is that the name for the groin rash your mother gave me? Don't fool yourself, old man. You know nothing about me.
Enlighten me, then. Is it Gallowayne you serve, or is it Wal?
I do not serve Gallowayne. I am an instrument of his will.
A low growl emanates from Heravius, his fingers splay, and his fingernails stretch into blackened talons.
But such difficulty on the way. If you had only accepted that perhaps you were fit to serve neither god, just as you were unfit to serve your tribe, you might have saved yourself the trouble.
Belittle my struggle at your own peril, Thaos. I have been reforged by challenge and contest. Saved myself the trouble? Pfft. Trouble, my friend, is what has made me strong enough to pull your lungs out through your colon.
Yet I suspect you amount to little in your god's eyes in either case. State your name and purpose, young acolyte.
My name belongs to the gods, in my hand to their service. And I'm going to purge it of your stain.
You serve none but yourself. Without contact with your order, you can have no higher purpose. Only the base concerns of the flesh. You have cast yourself from our ranks.
No. I've risen above them. I'll take the leaden key and lead in a way that you, who remained nothing more than a slave to the gods, never could.
A leader without insight, directing an organization that does not question. Quite a vision, Initiate. You are here because you are lost. The gods cannot reach everyone, I'm afraid. May you fare better in your next lives. I gather you have had your soul awakened. Why else would you shadow my footsteps like some stray mongrel? You think I have something to offer you, but our business was concluded long ago.
One of us is going to die in this room. You may as well admit your lie to me before that.
I answered your questions once. That your soul is not fit to accept the answers is of little concern to me. I lied to no one. Not to you, not to anyone. The gods are real. They are everything we need them to be, and the world is better for it.
You have denied a generation its place in the world.
The heart of this country has skipped a beat, nothing more. I have done far worse. I plunged the peaceful kingdom of Thaos into civil war. I slew the monarch of Desantio, whose people never knew hardship under his rule, and replaced him with a cruel despot who brought them to ruin. When plague arrived at the great city of Arborensis, I saw to it that the cure did not. They piled their dead outside the city in heaps that rose above their walls.
Is this supposed to diminish the damage you've done here?
It is to show the proper perspective. There was a time, back when your soul was still a shapeless mist, when the world believed only in false gods. Thousands of them. Gods that told them to take slaves. Gods that told them to make war upon their neighbors and devour the slain. Gods that told them to burn their children alive and cover themselves in the ashes as a sign of their faith. But all that changed when they learned of the true gods. Our gods. All those misshapen, bestial instincts melted beneath the radiance of our God's majesty. You could see it in their eyes. That dull emptiness replaced with the glimmer of a kindled spark.
Tell that to the devil of Karok. Teaching them that there were no gods would have achieved the same purpose.
And replaced it with one far worse. Have you imagined this existence? The one the apostate would have created. We are not all so virtuous as she. Without our gods, the most wicked, the most tyrannical, they would take that power for themselves. But more than that, it would be a hollow existence. All mysteries forever unanswered. All purposes constructed from meaninglessness. No endings to bring closure. Only a wheel, turning without mercy, grinding our spirits to dust.
The fear of oblivion. It's the false premise that people claim when they try to argue with atheists, is this idea that, like, if there are no gods, then nothing matters, and that just doesn't actually hold any water. It's a shallow garbage argument given by desperate people that have nothing else to say. It reminds me of the argument that immortality would be boring and that death gives you value or whatever. It's one of those things where it says more about the person saying it than the world as a whole. You underestimate people.
For all my years, I have seen exactly what they are capable of. What the apostate asked was beyond any man.
For all your years, you've seen exactly what you wanted to see, because that's how people work.
All I have seen, the millennia of experience. I will not be dissuaded from this course. This is the only way.
Okay, boomer. Then you must be stopped.
You are not the first to say that, nor will you be the last. As long as the cycle churns, my work will continue, unbroken. With your soul and thousands of others, I will see this world purged of its suffering. Hear me, Woodica. Your servant calls for aid.
You okay, game? Okay. Oh. Oh. Ah, it didn't auto-pause. What is that face? Are they like giant shark people? What are these guys? Wodica's judge. Can we focus him down fast enough, maybe? Okay, this Adair, Kana, and okay. Please run as fast as possible over here. Are there two? There's no statues over there. Cool. Quickly break from the melee range of the giant monsters. There you go. Now fight. Let's try to kill Thaos the fastest. Oh! Did he just go inside of that? No, Thaos is right there. What happened? This is where the CRPG combat system fails me again. What just happened? There's a yeah, there's a whole cutscene for it. But what did it mean? Like I basically need a pop-up to explain to me what happened, because like soul jump? Oh, maybe. I don't know, kill his body so he can't have it anymore. I think Thaos might be in that right now. I'm not sure.
This isn't working.
Still seems pretty reasonable to just focus on killing the shit out of his body real quick. You say this isn't working? That wasn't real dialogue though. I don't know what that was in reference to necessarily. Badly injured. Oh, is he invincible? It doesn't say he's invincible. Can we not hurt him though? Because it seems like nobody could hurt him, and they may moved on to attacking that instead.
This isn't working.
Why? What's not working? I don't know what he's talking about. Was Thaos' body invincible? Is that the takeaway? Maybe. Have some skeletons, asshole! Haha! Please stay alive. Steps of the wheel. Paralyzes and sickened. Get a little bit of health recovery. Now big champion mode. Okay. No! You're obvious. Still, your guardians are losing. I need to keep our watcher alive, so let's do what we can with this. There we go. We should be able to keep him alive for a bit. Not amazingly, though. Oop, there it goes. That's not great news. Okay. Yeah, 5 phrases, and then I can bring them both back. I just told you not to... Fuck. I just told you not to do anything, and he spent all my phrases on something. What did you just do? Oh well. I think we might win in a moment here anyway. Unless there's more phases. At your feet rests the body of Thaos, hollow. The dense wrinkles shaped by the silent shouldering of an eternal burden now smoothed across his color-drained face. His soul remains still for the moment, defenseless, its energy expended in defeat. It lies sprawled across his body like a death shroud.
All those lifetimes spent to preserve a single vital secret. I can't imagine having that much certainty.
I hope this is the end, but What's to stop him from being born again with the same ill intent? And before you suggest the option, no, I'm not eating his soul. I'll put almost anything in my mouth, but not that.
For obvious, you have like one job. You'll literally end the biggest problem this world's ever faced. Really? It's like they realized that they had almost like a plot hole here. Like, oh wow, we have this one special character who eats souls, but magically, you know, just hasn't found the right, it's just never happened yet, but he always has this legend about eating souls. And what's gonna happen? I don't know. And it's like, then you bring him along, and he's like, nah, bruh. It's like the fucking Fallout thing where they're like, oh no, somebody has to sacrifice themselves in the radiation chamber. Oh, this is sad. Really sad that somebody has to die. It's gotta be you or that other person. But what about my companion that's immune to radiation? This is your story to tell. Ha ha ha. And they awkwardly like walk away, ignoring the fact that they can solve the problem.
Thousands of souls he has tortured. Would that he could live those sufferings 1,000 times himself.
The grieving mother's eyes are cold and hollow as she looks at Thaos.
Some point, you have to look at the things your god is telling you to do, and ask yourself if it's worth it.
All those lives. And at the end of them, he was no better than the very people he sought to guide. A pity he would ever have to face that realization again.
Aloth shakes his head, looking down at Thaos in pity and wonder. Explore Thaos' soul. With a deep breath, you plunge into Thaos' soul, and where in Brackenbury it had been a maze of narrow corridors and dead ends, now it is expansive and borderless, its walls crumbling into heaps like the ruins of Engwith as you pass through them. You travel for what seems like ages, rushing to a known destination. A memory you glimpsed once before. At last you see it. No more than a pinprick of light at the end of a long tunnel, expanding slowly at first, then quickly as you near. You come out into the room you're standing in now, but it is new and pristine and filled with people. Thousands of them, all turned towards the great Adra pillar and the machine that encases it. Thaos stands at the machine, and you are one with him now. You look out at the crowd, at faces of shriveled old men and cherub-cheeked little girls, at mothers bouncing infants to quiet them, and fathers clasping their children's restless hands and watching you with somber acceptance. A woman with tears in her eyes gives you a small nod. You turn back toward the machine, your breaths constricted beneath the weight of unwanted knowledge, preparing yourself to set out alone on a journey without end. You close your eyes and open them again to find the machine still in front of you, beckoning. You take your place in front of it, and place your hands upon a large mechanical disc at the base of the great crystal column, and speak a single word. Giant rings creak to life, building speed, setting arrays of carved draconic mouths aglow, and sending tremors through the platform beneath you. The entire room shakes now with the force of the accelerating machine, all sound drowned out by its deep, deafening thrum. Brilliant tendrils of light arc outward from the pillar in all directions, and you look over your shoulder to see them engulfing the crowd, burning them brightly like hot iron. One by one, the tendrils disappear, leaving ashen effigies where people once stood, many of them disintegrating into gray heaps under the stress of the tremors. You look above the Adra pillar, and a glowing spherical mass has begun to coalesce atop the column where the arcs converge. It grows and pulses, translucent and bulbous like some immense chrysalis, suspended in slow rotation as though it were being spun from the arcs of light. When the last arc disappears, a spectral mass hangs a moment, no longer rotating. So bright you must shield your eyes with an outstretched hand. And it seems to you as though it is looking at you. You bow your head in acknowledgement and look back up to see it melting into the pillar like warm candle wax. The pillar flares with a flash of light, bright as the sun itself, then fades to darkness. The machine slows down to an abrupt halt, and when the last echo of its grinding cogs has passed, the chamber is still, and you are alone. From all sides, reality begins to bleed in through the memory, and you find yourself in your own skin once more, looking down on Thaos' lifeless body. You sense a listlessness to Thaos' soul, an overwhelming fatigue that hinders its immediate escape and makes it vulnerable to manipulation. You feel as though your victory has given you some kind of hold over it, and you are able to do with it as you please. Really particular options here. You can just return to the cycle with the knowledge of what choice he's made and what has happened. Seems like a bad idea. Your memory shall be in penance. Like, he's stuck through so many cycles of probably dying over and over again. The idea that he's going to suddenly change his mind seems like a terrible idea. There's two options to tear apart his entire soul. One saying you grant him peace, and one say that more spitefully you caused me great suffering and you don't deserve to exist. Then you just can wipe his memories out, returning him to the cycle like everybody else, but removing the past of what he's done. The high horse option, sort of. Then there's banish his soul to Breath Amen. You can escape judgment no longer. I have to Google that. Breath Amen. I misspelled it. Breath Amen. I just don't remember what they're talking about, so I'm not trying to look up the ending or anything. I'm trying to look up what Breathamin means. The Court of the Penitents. Oh, it's the choice to imprison him where my sister is. That's what Breathamin was. So many names. So he'd be trapped on this island forever. But what if he escapes? That's the problem for me, is like, what if he does escape someday? It's kind of a problem. There might be a certain spiteful sort of joy if my sister gets to see him imprisoned here. Or she might be like, fuck with this guy now? I don't know the rules strongly enough. He was serving a god to begin with. It feels like a god could release him, potentially. Seems like a horrible mistake to just try to imprison him here. For me, the only choices seem to be he has to be stopped permanently, in a sort of way. I either need to tear him apart completely, or remove his memories so that he won't ever do this again. He'll become pure, essentially, just a new soul. But I don't know if that works. Can you permanently remove his memories in a way that can't ever be awoken again? But if not, will he inevitably become the same person again? Because will he still have the power to remember himself from generation to generation over and over again like he did before? Even then, though, that power wouldn't lead him to becoming the same person, because it's not just the fact that he remembers all his past lives. He specifically remembers his past life where he was Ingwithin and was this past version. I don't know. I don't think this is the time for taking the high road. The sheer stakes of his existence are so beyond. I've avoided destroying any souls this whole time. I've always returned them to the wheel. Even the ones released from the machines, given all these chances to end a soul. But I think this is the one time to destroy him. I do not envy you, Thaos. I of all people realized the sway memories can hold. It is time you were granted peace. Tear his soul apart.
An end to doubt and certainty alike.
You reach out for Thaos' soul, and you can feel its frailty and defeat, its texture like a coarse and threadbare cloth on the brink of disintegration. You insinuate yourself between the threads, pushing the weaving apart, unraveling the stitching until it is bereft of structure, a formless heap bound together by nothing at all. In its midst, you dedicate your focus to a single idea, and the idea is shatter. You concentrate, and as you concentrate, you feel a force building within your soul, an outward pressure that strains against containment, threatening to rupture your spirit. When you can contain it no more, you transfer it into Thaos' soul, all at once, and release it there. A detonation of will that expands in all directions, driving out the remnants of his essence, scattering it into nothingness. You can feel his presence no more. In that stillness that follows, a single word echoes through your mind. A word you spoke when you were one with Thaos in an ancient memory. You realize it is the word that activates the machine. Well now, I believe we've made it. And everyone has something to say.